Welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, biz talk for biz owners. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Mr. Biz Radio with Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth. And this week, we're going to talk about a topic that, as a long-term self-professed numbers nerd, is near and dear to my heart. So if you've watched or listened to the show with any regularity, you've probably heard me, and maybe it even annoys you as much as I refer to being a numbers nerd. But a lot of it has to do with what I do for a living and, you know, working at JP Morgan and all that kind of stuff in the past, being a CFO now and a business strategist and things like that. I've always been fascinated by numbers. And I was going to mention this now, but I'm going to hold it because I just thought of something else that another numbers nerd thing that I think our guests this week will appreciate. That's most people are like, my wife is like, Mrs. Biz is like, what are you doing? Like, but we're going to talk about numerology this week. And we've got a guest this week who's an expert in this. Those of you who watch regularly, you may realize we covered this maybe about a year or so ago with, I think his name was Jesse Kelsey, but from Northern California. We covered some things that we're going to cover different aspects of than we covered with Jesse's show and from a different perspective than we talked about with Jesse. But our guest this week is Suzan Owens. She is the author of the award-winning book, Wisdom of Numerology. She shares her knowledge and insights to help people create a fulfilling and rewarding lives. She shares the synchronicity, guidance, and growth through this study, offers through interviews, articles, speaking engagements, and workshops. And something else near and dear to my heart, she is a world traveler. She has visited 45 countries on 6 continents. And I was joking with Suzan earlier, you got to get that 7th. You got to get to Antarctica. I'm guessing that's the one that's missing. You got to get there just so you can check all those boxes.
Right.
But welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, Suzan.
Thank you so much, Ken. I'm really excited to be here. I am a numbers nerd too, really, seriously. Even though I didn't tell you this, but I did have to cheat on my accounting exam in college to pass it. So this isn't accounting. This is not high finance. This is easy numbers. Numerology is adding and
well, it's funny you
subtracting.
say that. My undergrad is in accounting. My graduate's in financial management, all numbers, right? But it's always just come easy to me, and it's so funny. And you probably have seen this as well. You know, even my wife's a nurse. Mrs. Biz is a nurse, and obviously she has to do some number stuff, right? Calculating medicines and medications and how much to get. But especially nowadays, she just pulls up the phone and uses it, right? But
Easy.
she like, and people, I think it's people who like have the ability or don't have the ability. And I don't have a lot of abilities at all. Like, but one thing I have, like mental math is like super easy to me. And I don't understand how it's not easy for other people. But I'm really crappy. I couldn't play a musical instrument. If you gave me, 6 months to learn, I'd probably be terrible, right? I don't have any of those gifts. But it's funny. We were just, my wife and I were just somewhere. Where were we? And she was talking about something. And she goes, okay, well, I think we were at a store, and she was trying to figure out, we had a budget and how much to buy and whatever. She goes, well, there's this, and she's telling me numbers. Well, this is 687 and this is 92 and this is 17, but I get 10% off of this one. Oh, wait, and if we spend over that, we'll get 20% off. How much is that? And I said, $912. And she goes, come on. She gets her phone out and she goes, are you kidding me? Like, what it's $912. She goes, it's actually $911.87. I'm like, okay. She goes, what are you, Rain Man? I said, again, to me, it's just like, well, that's just something I've been given, right? A gift I've been given to be able to do that. And it's so funny to see people, other number nerd people that, when I worked at JP Morgan, there's a lot of numbers related people there. So I worked with people for 20 plus years that they had that, they had the same thing, a lot of them. And so I was just so used to that. And then you get out, outside of the financial world, and there's a lot of people who don't have that. That's probably why they don't work in the financial world, right? But they're like, how do you do that? And I'm like, how do you not do that? Like,
Yeah, that's funny because I'm English is mine. Writing comes so easy to me. Thank you. I love English. And math, never. Numbers, never. It was never something I enjoyed.
Huh.
Algebra, forget it. My ex-husband was that could do the numbers, and that was great. Even though I was the one that did the business and I did the books, I could do that. But I was the writer. I was always the writer, always the creative in the relationship. And still now today, I love to write. That words come easy to me. And that's
Okay.
because of a 3 life path. And we're going to talk about that too. But
Yeah. Well, before we get too much further, and we've got about 3 minutes left in the segment here, I did want to talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey you've had, Susan.
yes, I have always been in business. That's been a big part of my life. I have, and part of the reason that I'm doing that in numerology, I've been in numerology for decades, and the thing that has really helped me is it's given me a framework and a foundation to run my life. So one of the main things that I like to talk about is the personal year or the universal year. And this year, 2024, is a universal year of a number 8. And the way you calculate that, 2 + 2 + 4 is 8. Duh. Simple. Changes January to January because numbers change January to January. Next year is a 9-year, which is the end of the 9-year cycle. Numerology runs on a 9-year cycle, 1 to 9. And this year being an 8-year, 8's all about business, management, authority, being an authority, organization, entrepreneurship. It's the year that I chose to launch my online business. I wrote my book when it was a creative year. And now I am putting myself out there in the universe as an authority and in social media and doing readings on charts, and I'm working on another book in the background here. So there's a lot of things about an 8-year that really is about business and career finance focus that year. So
And so interesting, before you say anything else, before you go any further, I should say, so you literally now have incorporated this so much, and this is what I especially, and we probably won't get to it till the third segment, but I really want to talk about, because it sounds like, and you had mentioned this, you really kind of live your life around this 9-year cycle. And so I definitely want to talk about that in the third segment on how people that are watching, listening can incorporate this into their lives. So we'll talk about that then. But so you literally are, you said it was a creative year for you. That's when you wrote your book. And so now it's a building year. And so now you're doing all these different things. It's very interesting to me.
Right. Well, next year, 2025 is a 9-year, because I said the end of the 9-year cycle. That's completion. That is endings. Things leave in a 9-year. A lot of 9 sometimes is you have loss in a 9-year, meaning that things you don't need anymore. You may not feel like that, but they do leave. And it's also a year to clean out your closets, your metaphysical closet and your physical closet, because you're going to begin another 9-year cycle in 2026, for instance. And so this would be the year 9 years, that year to think about, what is it I want to take with me? Not necessarily what do I have to let go of, but what do I want to take with me in the next 9 years? So that's a big part of that 9 years, it's the end of your cycle. If you think about that, then clean up, finish, and rewards. You get rewards for what you've done in your last 9-year cycle.
Interesting. So yeah, we're almost out of time on this segment here, but just to tease the next segment, I want to talk a little bit about, I know you had mentioned as well, sort of offline, that you have personal numbers with your years, with bringing your birth dates and things like that. I want to talk about that next segment. I know you had mentioned life path, talking about that a little bit. So come back after the break. We're going to talk about that. And again, probably not till the third segment, we're going to get into really talking about how to really start to bring this in. But you can find out more at wisdomofnumerology.com. And you can also follow her on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Come back after the break on Mr. Biz Radio.
If you would like to reach hundreds of thousands of business owners every week, Mr. Biz Radio can help. Our show airs globally 7 days a week for more than 25 hours across several internet radio stations, plus 20-plus podcast platforms. Also, video exposure on the new exclusive Mr. Biz Network streaming channel, which gets blasted to 100-plus streaming platforms, and the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, and our 350,000 social media followers multiple times every week. Join Mr. Biz Nation as an advertiser by emailing us at info@MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit getpulsetools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Got a question for Mr. Biz you want answered on air? Email it to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to Mr. Biz Radio. We're talking again this week with Suzan Owens, author of the award-winning book, Wisdom of Numerology. Again, we'll put this in the show notes, and I mentioned it before, but wisdomofnumerology.com. You can also follow her on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. So you had talked in the first segment, Susan, about the 9-year cycle. And you'd mentioned, we got out of order. And again, my numbers nerd and my organization, I know we talked about 8 and 9 and you started on 1. And I'm like, okay, well, now my brain's all scattered. Like, can we start at 1 and kind of walk us through, what those different years look like?
Absolutely. Because 2026 is going to be a 1 year for universal. Now, here's the thing. Before I get into that, I want to explain something really quickly, that you have the universal year because 2024 is for everyone, but
Right.
There's also a personal year that also has influence in your chart. And the way you calculate your personal year is you add your birth month, whatever the month is, and your birthday, just the day, and you add those two numbers to the current year. So 2024 is an 8. So you add your birth month, your birthday to number 8. And that gives you your personal year. Okay. And we did yours earlier, and you're a 1. You're in a 1 year. Now, I love this year because that's a year that you really get to think about, what do you want to manifest for the next 9 years? How do you see yourself in the next 9 years? And a lot of people do goal setting in 10 years, whatever. For me, it's a 9-year cycle. Everything's under nine digits strictly. So in that 1 year, I tell people, this is your year to plant seeds. What do you want to manifest? And the way to think about what it is you really want, I give them 3 columns. The first column is your must-haves. For instance, what do you have to have? Well, good health, for one, would be a must-have. Financial security, whatever, must-have in your 9-year cycle. And then maybe on your next column over is, well, would be nice if. Well, I can name a few people that want to lose a little bit of weight. Okay, that would feel good. Would be nice if I lost a little bit of weight. So those are your first 2 columns. Must have, would be nice. And the third column is my favorite, is in your wildest dreams. What is it that you really want to manifest in your wildest dreams? Most people don't think big enough either. So this is your opportunity to dream big and absolutely do not censor yourself. I'm a writer, so I'm writing this all down, everything. And I encourage people to write it down, even if you aren't a writer. Put it down on paper, get it out there in the 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional world. Put it out there, what you really, really want. And what's your wildest dreams? How do you see yourself in the next 9 years? So in that 1 year, that's your main focus. What do you want to create? Now, this is a really big, busy, outward focused year as that 1 year, because there's a lot of information coming in. You're putting a lot of information out there. In the 2 year, thank you, it's a little bit more relaxed. You get to step back a little, nurture the seeds, for instance, that you planted that you want to grow. And in a 2 year, it's a year to really collaborate with other people. In the 1 year, it's a number 1. It's all about you. In a 2 year, it's time to really allow the intuition to come in, be a partner, negotiate. That's your 2 year. 3 year, creativity. This is your year to really be creative. It's a social year, lots of fun, lots of activity. And 3 is a lucky number, by the way, and it's the creative number. My life path is a 3, and we'll talk about that one later. But it's a good year to expand your horizons, if you will, and really enjoy life, because in that 4 year, that's a worker year. That's the year you're going to keep your nose to the grindstone, build a really solid foundation for what it is that's going to go on in the following years. So not a year to risk, just keep your head down and do your work. Discipline, diligence, keep your focus.
Okay.
5 year, oh my gosh, this is the year, and this is why you need a strong foundation built in that 4 year, because that 5 year, is all about freedom and expansion. And if you got a solid foundation under you that you can leap off from, there it is. That's what you want in that 5 years, is a little bit of solid foundation under you. And it's 5 years a year to take risks. You don't want to do that in the 4 year, but a 5 year, opportunities are going to come, surprises are going to come, and take advantage of those opportunities. And if you're sitting on the fence about something, fall over on the side that says it's going to bring me a new world. That's what you really want to do. 6 year, now again, 5 years, another one of those really outward focused years. And the 6 year brings you back home. It's about home, family, relationship. All your relationships are under the spotlight in the 6th year. Your family will probably need you more in a 6th year. We call it our marriage and divorce year. And that's the year that you either renew your vows or you choose out. And those extremes, right? It's not either or, but somewhere along that spectrum. But anyway, you got to really focus on your relationship. The 7 year, after that year of being in relationship with family and all that, a 7 year, you get to go inward. And this is the year that you really ask yourself, am I on the right path? Am I doing what I really want to do? What is my life purpose? And you might find that things are realigned. A year for technology. I tell people that's your year to do a vision quest, if you will, or some self-improvement class. Mm-hmm. And then that brings us right back to the 8th year, which is where we are right now. So you might, in that last year, you might find something that realigns your life goals, and then you can really present them in your 8 year. And the other thing, oh, by the way, every number is attached to a letter. And legally, it's Susan with an S, S-U-S-A-N. But that Z is attached to the number 8. And I wanted that business, that management, that being an authority in my name. So Susan with a Z is my nom de plume. I put that out there as my author's number, my name.
Yes, I have to tell everyone. I was going to bring that up because I was incorrectly, before we started the show, I always ask guests, especially if their name is at all like a little, tricky or whatever. I always ask to make sure I don't mispronounce their name. Well, we got started talking and I was calling her Suzanne. And I think earlier I did actually do. And the Z kept throwing me off. I said, I just assumed with a Z it was Suzanne. And that's when you mentioned, you're like, hey, let's talk about this on the show because it's a Z for a reason. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, the other thing about the Z is I spent a lot of time in Egypt. I lived in Cairo for a year, and Susan is an Egyptian name as well, but they spell it with a Z. So that came about, and Gmail with a Z. There's a lot of reasons for that Z is in my name, and I like it. And I apologize if it messes you up, but you're not the only one. So there you go.
Well, you know what? I like the uniqueness of it because, there's so many, I guess there's a few different ways that, Susan, Suzanne's, there's multiple spellings with that. But I always like uniqueness as well. I mean, my first name's Ken. It's like, what's so unique about that? Ken, Ben, at least John, it could be John, it could be Jon, I always like uniqueness with names or anything, like not just the same old stuff. Unfortunately, maybe I like it so much because mine is so boring, and maybe that's what it is that drove me toward it. So we're going to wrap up here, head to a break. A lot of stuff to cover here in the last segment. We have one more segment left. I want to really focus on some different things. I know you had mentioned before life path. I want to get into that, and maybe that'll lead us into talking about how to successfully incorporate some of this stuff into our lives on a day-to-day, year-to-year, month-to-month, year-to-year basis, and a 9-year cycle basis. Again, wisdomofnumerology.com, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Make sure you check out that book. You can find out more about what she's going. And she mentioned focusing on some social media and things like that. So make sure you go out and follow her as she's sharing a bunch of different content. Come back after the break. We'll continue talking about numerology.
How would you like to have direct access to Mr. Biz to help you run your business more profitably and more efficiently? At MrBizSolutions.com, you get live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also several of his hand-picked and trusted business experts, each with 20 plus years of experience to help you optimally manage and grow your business. That's just the start of where Mr. Biz Solutions begins. Learn more at MrBizSolutions.com. That's MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right, only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit GetPulseTools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Check out all 3 of Mr. Biz's best-selling books at MrBizBooks.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. Lots to cover here. I want to get through this stuff, not in a good way, because there's so many different things I want to cover. I do want to bring up one thing I mentioned. I can't remember if I mentioned it before we started the show, or maybe I mentioned it in the first segment, but there's one thing that I do is we're talking about how to incorporate some of these things into our everyday lives and the life path. I think it may tie into some of that you had mentioned, Susan. One of the things that I do that my wife is just like, what when she first saw me do it, she's like, "What are you doing?" When I set an alarm, I never set an alarm for like 9 o'clock, 9:00. It's always like 8:56. And why is that? Well, 56 was one of my favorite players for the Steelers back in the 70s and 80s, Robin Cole. So it's 8:56. Or I set the microwave. When I set the microwave, I don't put it in for a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes, 2.5, 3 minutes, or it's always some derivative of a number. And especially since I started getting into, learning more about numerology or anything, I try to incorporate 3, 6s, and 9s. And so a lot of times I'll do something where I'll make here's how much of a nerd I am, Susan. I'll make a playlist. And I always have to have a playlist that I somehow can have it be 3, 6, or 9. So maybe it's not 36, maybe it's not 36 songs, but maybe it's 15 songs, because 1 + 5 is 6.
Right.
And so literally, same thing. Like I said, the microwave. It's funny. My wife and I'll be making dinner in the kitchen, and she'll be like, "Hey, can you pop that in for 2 minutes?" And she'll turn around and I'm pop it in, 2:06, and she's like, "Why? What's 6 seconds going to do? It's a 6. I want to have a 6 in there." And she's like, "Oh my gosh." Anyway, that all being said, clearly I'm trying to incorporate this into my life. Maybe not in the correct ways, but in my way, I'm trying to do something. I'm making an effort here. What are some ways that we can incorporate some of these things into our day-to-day, month-to-month, year-to-year, 9-year cycle into our lives?
Well, it's interesting because numbers all have energy. They all have a vibration. And that's why I talk about personal years 1 and all the way through. Well, the other thing that we have is a life path number. Now, this is one of the biggest numbers in your numerology chart. And this one, this is easily calculated too. It's not hard like astrology. You don't have to know where your birth time is or where the planets are. All you do is add your birth date numbers together. So for instance, if you were born today, what is today? September 3rd, right? Mm-hmm. That's 12. And then we add that to 2024, which is an 8. So 1 + 2 + 8 is an 11, right? And 1 + 1 is 2. So add the numbers together and keep adding them together till you get 1 digit. So that makes today a 2-day, right? No, makes it a 3-day, right? Because 8 + 2 is it's a 2-day. Anyway, so having that said, we'll calculate the numbers. If you came up with adding your birthday together and you came up to be a number 1, that makes you a leader. Now it's a singular number. It's a number that says you are an individual, a trailblazer. You like to put yourself out there. You like to be in the front of the room. You're an achiever, maybe even an overachiever sometimes. And you're original. People look up to you to be for a leadership. Okay. So if that number came up, you added your digits, your birthday digits together, and it came up to be a 2, you are the supportive one. You are the collaborator, the mediator. You probably found yourself in your lifetime, maybe growing up, just want everybody to get along in the family, found yourself as the big diplomat. Well, that's pretty much what a 2 is. They don't necessarily want to be the limelight, but boy, are they great supportive for people that really want to be in the under the spotlight. And they're great people to be married to. 2s are great partners. The other one, the 3, they're the creatives. I'm a 3. We like to talk. 3s like to talk. They're emotional in that they understand their emotions, or at least that's what their life purpose is going to be about. And they're creative. They're expressive. They're the ones that the writers, the dancers, the singers, the ones that really make the world a better place. And again, 3 is a lucky number. 4s, those are the workers. Those are the accountants. Those are the ones that can do the same job every day and really relish in it. And a lawyer too. They like to read. They like to focus. They like a firm foundation underneath them. The 5s, now these are the promoters. They're the great salespeople. They're the world travelers. They're the ones that they want to live, experience life with all 5 senses. They really want to enjoy life and every element of it. And then they give it back to the universe and give it back to the people. That's how they learn from life experience. And then they teach others. The 6, they make great partners too. Home, family, and relationships are really important with the 6. They love beautiful things. They relish in being a good partner and making a good solid home. 7s, they're the individuals that really need to be on their own. They have to go off and do their own thing. They research. They're great at technology. They're a little more challenging to be in a relationship with because they really need their rejuvenation time. 8s are the business people. They're the ones that have all these ideas on how to create business, being a management, being balanced, really important. Either you're really good with money if you're an 8 or you aren't, and life will bring you life lessons to teach you how to be good with money. 9s, they're the humanitarians. They're the ones that follow the golden rule and can't figure out why nobody else does. Or others have a hard time with it. They're the humanitarians, like I said. They're the rescue people. They want to take care of all the animals, and they're also pretty psychic, pretty intuitive, if you will. So those are the main 1 through 9 numbers, and we have master numbers, but we don't have time to get into those. But anyway, that'll tell you a little bit about your life path, and those are what your life gifts are. And then if you know what those are, then you can understand a little bit more about who you are and what you want to create in your life and how to create it. So those are the big numbers that I can tell you about.
Interesting. I'd love to look through that, especially for even like myself, my wife, the kids. Our oldest 2, one's she's finishing her senior year, or into her senior year now at the University of Kentucky as going to be an elementary school teacher. So it'd be interesting to me to see, does that fit, right? Is that a good fit for her life path number, as well as, our oldest, who's into neuroscience and kind of a sciencey, I call her a science nerd because I call myself a numbers nerd. But anyway,
probably a 7. I put that as a 7, and your second one's probably, well, I could guess a couple numbers, but the science nerd, absolutely. She's got a 7 in her chart somewhere. And the other thing that you talked about real quick, 3, 6, 9, those are all wonderfully compatible numbers. 1, 5, 7, those are great compatible numbers. And 9s can kind of go with everybody. And 2s and 4s and 8s go together pretty well. So that 3, 6, 9, those are so compatible. It's interesting.
Yeah, I got that from as I recall correctly, it was Tesla was big with 369, and I have a 369 journal, and I haven't started using it yet because I want to make sure I've been refining everything, and I want to make sure that I start with the right stuff. And honestly, I waited to have you on the show because I wanted to make sure that what I'm doing is before I start the journal that I'm journaling the correct things. I mean, I know you could change it midstream if need be, but.
Well, I love it. And the other thing real quick I want to tell you before we end up is that sign up on my website. It's a freebie.
Yeah.
I'll send you a newsletter every month, and that'll give you an update about what your personal year is and what that month means for your personal year. So, and it's a freebie. I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Really appreciate that. And again, wisdomofnumerology.com, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn as well. Really appreciate you coming on show, Suzan. Fantastic stuff. I loved it. Might have to have you on again if you'll grace us with your presence again.
Anytime. You just call me. I'd love it. I'd love it, Ken.
Yeah, appreciate that. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a fantastic rest of your week. And don't forget, as always, cash flow is king.
To become part of Mr. Biz Nation, follow him on all social media platforms or never miss a show by going to MrBizRadio.com. If you prefer free video content, visit the Mr. Biz YouTube channel or check out his streaming channel, which is available on 100 plus streaming platforms at MrBizNetwork.com.